And a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show. My name is Koi. Now, a modeling agency is a company that represents fashion models to work for the fashion industry. Having the right agent can actually make or break you in the modeling industry. A good reputable agent will have the proper connections and pull the necessary strings to get your feet in the door of the best casting opportunities for modeling auditions, for companies who create sales catalogs and have outdoor advertisements. Now, speaking of reputable agencies, let's speak to the owner of Kinkey Modeling Agency. That's coming up shortly.
When you travel around Nairobi, what strikes you first is the vast number of outdoor advertising sites visible. The city is littered with huge outdoor billboards positioned at every roundabout, in every neighborhood and on most streets. Electronic media commercials are also slowly finding their way back to the streets as electronic billboards are being introduced in the city. Most of these adverts are composed of appealing images of models in different situations. These are just but a fraction of the opportunities presented to models and model agencies to cash in. In our quest to dig deep into the modeling industry, we spent time with Kinkey Modeling and Talent Agency, an outfit that was established in the year 2005 and ventures in recruiting models for fashion work, print and electronic commercials, and film.
Well, actually, I was more interested in the fashion side of modeling, like the fashion shows and the fashion shoots. And at the time, when you look at all the other modeling agencies that were there were more of casting agencies that concentrated on doing advertisements and that type of thing. So I thought if I started my own agency, I'd be able to be different in one way and concentrate on fashion and help build the fashion modeling industry.
At the premise, it's a beehive of activity. Olivia Gachara, the proprietor, is occupied with her tools of trade, preparing her models for a photo shoot. This process takes almost half an hour. She says when applying makeup for a photo shoot, one has to be very keen since every detail counts.
Usually makeup is very subtle for fashion shoots. You don't need to be too loud because then it's going to take away from the clothes. So you do some subtle makeup, do her hair up, then just dress her, help her with her poses. Because you know sometimes maybe the model is not that experienced, she won't have like nice poses off the cuff.
When she is finally done with the makeup, the models are dressed in the appropriate outfit for the shoot. Then it's time for the lens to roll.
Like if you're having a photo shoot, what we do, first of all, we select the model that we want. She has to be in line with what it is that we want to do. Because there are some shoots that you do where you need a tall, slim girl, others maybe you want to do an A-size shoot. Maybe you need a male model, a female model. So we get exactly what it is that we need. Then we get her fitted for the clothes that she's going to be wearing. Because mostly shoots for newspapers and magazines are more to advertise the clothes than anything else.
The shoot is conducted in various locations, both indoor and outdoor, as well as in different outfits to achieve the intended results.
We mostly do modeling for all types of jobs. We have models between the ages of 3 and 40, 45. But the largest variety of our models are between 16 and 30.
With more than 20 models on board, the outfit has stamped its authority in the industry by providing professional and specialized services to ensure their clients are gratified.
Some of the events that our models have taken part in are the current African fashion fair that's going on. We did a fashion for peace that was held at the National Park. Then we also did a charity show last week. It was called Fashion for Food or something. It was a designer launching her label.
Unlike most agencies, Kinkey concentrates heavily on promotion of the models in the industry so as to develop their talent, build their confidence, and increase their chances at getting jobs in this swarming industry.
Fashion models are required to be at least 5'7" and above, preferably 5'8" and above, 5'9" and above. The taller you are, the better, because they want someone who can carry their clothes, and when they wear those clothes, those designer clothes, they flow nicely. Then models for advertisements is very wide. You know, I can't look at you and say that you're not a good model, because you never know when the client is looking for someone to drink that Coke, then they want someone who looks just like you. So models for advertisements are more varied across the board.
Modeling as a service is very wide and can be specialized to suit various client needs.
As designers work harder to get their names noticed, it's easier now to approach a designer and to have them have a fashion show to launch their label. Before, like maybe 3 years ago, 5 years ago, they didn't really appreciate how a fashion show is going to help them.
The specialized modeling services offered by Kinkey Modeling and Talent Agency include catwalk modeling, editorial modeling, print and electronic modeling, among many.
So we have models that do advertising work, fashion shows and fashion shoots, fashion modeling, film modeling, that's actors and TV ads, voiceover models for TV ads and radio, ushering and hostessing for functions, amongst others. We also do choreography.
With the outfits models having had opportunities to participate in numerous fashion events and commercial photo shoots, Kinkey Modeling and Talent Agency has been able to develop the modeling industry by bringing out the gravity and vast opportunities modeling can offer.
One of the main things that people tend to miss is just having faith in what you do. Having that confidence to know that if I go to this MD and tell him that I can do this and it's going to cost you this much, and you've probably never even made that much money in your life, just go and do it. And you never know, he might just look at you and say, okay, fine, let's do this. But people always feel, if you're not there yet, people who aren't there yet tend to have a sort of inferiority conflict.
Olive intends to extend the company's services to the East African nations and believes her greatest glory isn't never falling, but in rising even higher whenever she stumbles on hurdles.
Stay tuned for Right at Home. That's coming up next.
By the time you're signing a contract, there are some approvals you need to have. You need to have perused, because at the time of signing a contract, there are some documents showing the dimensions, like the approved plans, showing the dimensions of a house. Then there's something called a sample house. Sometimes when you're purchasing, there's usually the sample unit. So if these particulars have already been put in the sale agreement, and they are quite clear that you're purchasing as per the inspected approved drawings, or probably you're purchasing as seen on the show house, then with that you have every right to sue. You have every right to demand for quality of service of what you had demanded, of the product that you had demanded. But most of the time you'll find, even in brochures, particulars are never warranted, and that is why you'll need to be very careful, because most of the time what they'll just give you are specifications. It's going to be a 2-bedroom house, a 3-bedroom house, wooden flooring, this is it. But now at the end of the day, you don't get to know what are the actual dimensions of a house, and these things actually change depending on what is going to be approved. Sometimes you may want, sometimes they may say they want to build a house of these dimensions, but what is approved is something lesser. So as at the time of purchasing, you need to have inspected, and that's why you need an advocate. You need to have inspected the approved drawings, because with the approved drawings or the actual drawings, you'll be able to look at them and see the actual dimensions of what it is that you're purchasing, and that now will be able to put you in a picture of what it is that you're purchasing. It's called an assignment. And it varies from developers, or rather from vendors. There are vendors who allow for assignment, where one can come in and at somewhere along the transaction you feel like you want to sell, when especially the prices have gone high, and with the consent of the vendor you can assign the property to somebody else, but now that the person coming in will now take that property with the same terms you took with. For example, if you are paying in a monthly installments, or you are paying on bi-monthly, or whatever mode of payment it is that you are paying. So whatever rights and obligations that you were able to negotiate at the beginning of the contract, you will be handing them down to the new purchaser. So it's called an assignment, and it definitely has to be with consent of the vendor, because some vendors do not allow you to assign the property or sell the property until you yourself have finalized making the payments. So some will demand first finalize on the payments. For example, if you're buying a house for 5 million and you found a purchaser who's willing to sell it, to buy it for 7 million, now the vendor will say, no, pay me my 5 million first, When you find an instance, the new purchaser can even decide, fine, let me help you pay, offset, or rather finalize with your balance, and then now I come in and become the new purchaser. But some vendors are very flexible. They will say, fine, you found somebody else, as long as they are willing to take over your burdens, take over from where you left. So what will happen is that the new purchaser will pay you off what you had paid together with the profits that you've made on top, and then they will be left now with the vendor and complete the transactions with the terms that you had entered into. So they'll be more or less just taking over from where you'd left off. Now, that is the biggest quagmire purchasers are actually facing, especially when it comes to apartments where you're sharing common facilities and you have a management company. Okay, now what happens is that ordinarily where every transaction, ordinarily what's supposed to happen is that every year the management company is supposed to take care of the service charge, is supposed to take care of the land rent and land rates of that property and clear it annually, consistently. But what would happen ordinarily is that if you want now to dispose of your property, you will have now to go to the management company. Now, you know the management companies are now the common owners of these apartments. So you'll have now to go to them to request them to give you their consent also, because they need to give their consent, and also have cleared the land rents and the land rates and give you the clearance certificates. So I call it a quagmire because at the end of the day you find that you're not detached, you're not free to dispose of your property as you may want to or charge it, because at the end of the day you will still need the consent and approval of the management company, and sometimes you find that there are delays. Sometimes you may want to dispose of your property and find that maybe they have accrued land rent or rates that are owing, and you find the purchasers at the end of the day, or a person who's selling, decide to run the loss to pay it off and have it signed, because at that time you find maybe the management company was not running as appropriately as it should have been, because ordinarily it should maintain and ensure that all these payments are paid timely. So that should there be a transaction or anybody wanting to transact with the property, that they don't now get a hitch at the end of the day when you find now you want to transfer and there's some payments that are due and owing. Yeah, so I call it a quagmire, but it is doable, and we find there's some management company that are actually it's smooth running in some places, but not always.
The Eve Sisters provide a mentorship program for women all over the country. Now, their main aim is to lobby the next generation of influencers of society. Let's pick up the motivational talk from last week from none other than the Eve Sisters.
The other thing that home ownership gives you is that it takes you away from poverty. We're going to hear a lot after this about that, but mine is to tell you, if we want to get off poverty, the one sure way is to invest in housing. We have grown up seeing all these names in the 80s with big chunks of land, isn't it? Many of them. And then again there came another era where it was, I did a kadir. You had those ones? Nilifanya kadiro. Did you remember that era? And then all of a sudden he's changed from head to toe and he's moved to a different residence, isn't it? Then we are in a new era. This era is of fanya nini, fanya kazi iliyopati kana. We are hard-working Kenyans, and we're working hard. We are educated, we have degrees, we have a job. We do things, we have businesses. But one thing we need to do is, let's stop fighting for our ancestral land. I keep telling people, my mother, my late mom, had land, she had houses. They were hers. She used them to get me where I am until I started. But let me tell you, if you sit there and get angry or decide I own a piece of this, you will get nowhere. When she died, she had 3 maisonettes in Kilimani, 100 acres in Kalau. She had another 20 acres in Duboine, Fort Smith. But whose property is that? And because she got it, she used to tell me, and I'll say it in Kikuyu and I'll translate, Niko ni davo mireri. Huh? If only I was educated, where would I have reached? Now, because of her hard work, we were not in a slum, isn't it? And because of her hard work, we were educated. Whether or not there were days where there's no sugar, there's no electricity, I've seen it. School fees nakaa nyumbani kidogo. It's okay, isn't it? Because she's working on it. But let me tell you, it takes you out of poverty. Today, with the house that client has bought at Roslyn that is worth 45, yeah? Sukasa is at 900, yeah? We've agreed, yeah? That's a bed-sitter. If I tell you next time, and I hope I can come back another session and say, Sukasa is 5 million shillings. You see, only those who have bought will be worth 5 million shillings. But let me tell you, you will have unlocked yourself and your family out of poverty. Those clothes will change fashion. I'm a fashion designer. This I didn't wear last year or last week. Yeah, true. That phone will change. In our days, we had no mobiles, isn't it? They are new. Things will change. But the one thing that gets value is housing. That investment that you will have done will go a long way to yourself, to your future generation, and to your family, entire family. Because for me, and our changes that we've done and the adjustments, we have relatives that we take care of, that we do not let them go into poverty, isn't it? Because you are empowered. You have extra money to pay school fees of somebody. So poverty, we can say forget. But we have to take the first step. Because this is residual income. Today, the houses in Kilimani are still there. They are rented. My mother is not there. Okay? Now, my niece is a nephew of any sibling in the family that doesn't have school fees. Where do they get it from? Why? Because somebody took the step and invested in something that is tangible. This will get out of fashion. I'll either lose weight or I'll put on weight and I'll put it aside. Right? There are many things that you put aside, even that phone, even that car can give you problems. Because right now, first of all, right, in Kenya, why do we have traffic jams? Why do we have traffic jams? Why can't we have traffic jam of housing? Honestly, why can't I have people coming to my office buying houses until I can't even sit and talk? So ladies, let's agree that this is the one sure way that we can get out of poverty. What's my next promise? A lifestyle. I used to tell my friends and people, I used to say, I want to drive the car that I can fuel and I can service. If you are driving a car and parking it in a rented house, we all have to rent, okay? We have to rent, but you have to make a plan. So you decided to write something. You have to say, how long am I going to pay this landlord this rent? we have to agree. First of all, on that rental issue, I'll tell you, you cannot afford, you go and find out the house you're renting today. If you had to buy it, how much it is. Just go and find out. Don't ask the landlord because they think that you want to run away or you're changing your mind. Just find out. I'm living in this flat. I'm paying X rent. How much is this house? Most of the time, you cannot afford to buy where you rent. Let's deal with one thing. The reason it's good to rent in a good area because of security, right? And it's, of course, you want some to live in a certain place. But the one thing about rental is that you are enriching the landlord forever. How long have you been renting that house? If at all it's so high that you cannot even save, then I think the problem is status, right? Yeah. The one big problem we have in Kenya is status. Anyway, it's worldwide. But let me tell you, when I'm sleeping in my mattress and I get out and shower and I put on my clothes, does anybody know where I slept? No. Do they care? No. But guess what? We have made it our business to care. To care more than being realistic with ourselves. If I live on Mombasa Road, or in Kitengela, or wherever I live, I am so bothered. I don't even want my friends to come and visit me. This status issue is why we are paying a lot of rent. So my question to you is, why are you renting instead of buying? Why? Pin drop silence. The reason you're renting instead of buying, it's because if you're not careful, it becomes a vicious cycle, isn't it? Transportation to get to work, you're used to that because you have to get to work at a certain time. Lifestyle, you're used to it. Now, how do I tell my friends to come and visit me in Duboine? Where is that? How many of you even know where Duboine is here? Huh? So if I told you, come and visit Sue in Duboine, would you come? Ladies, we have to deal with the issue of status. And I'm talking to ladies because, let me tell you, our husbands are the ones who will listen because they listen to you and you drive that home, isn't it? You are the one who wants a certain school. You're the one who wants a certain place. Please, let's drive these homes in the right way. So my next promise is that when you retire, okay, we are 58, right? We're looking good. But the truth of the matter, at one point or another, you will not be able to work the way you do, isn't it? You will not have the strength, the zeal. Your body cannot take those 3 matatus or waking up at 4 a.m., isn't it? So what are you working for? If you're not working for a future that you yourself can be able to say, that I can now sit here and pick rent here, rent here, rent here, and be able to pay my medical bills. You don't want your children to run away from you. You know what our children are like today? Do you think they're going to do what we do for our parents? They're too busy. They're a different generation with a zeal, passion, and energy. The only one thing we could charge was our home. And that is how we started Suraya. Initially, people thought we were Asians. I don't know why. The name? But Suraya is Sue and there's no Asian or Chinese. When we charged the house, we were able to get 15 million shillings to start the business. 15 million shillings is not for building. It's not for building. It is for the working capital. One thing in business that actually harasses or doesn't get things going is because where do you get the capital? Now, this is the house you live in with your children, the only house that you have with your family, and you are charging it to do a business. Women, you are very critical in these issues because we could not tell our relatives or friends what we were doing because they'll tell us we are crazy. Because when you have your home, you want to tell your husband, I do not want you to touch it, that title to do business. If I had refused to charge the title to start the business, because me, I have my home, I am happy, it's a good residence, I will not allow, what would have happened? Suraya would never, ever have started. You are very critical in the development of your home, yourself, the wife, you getting married, the person, the woman. You're very critical. For almost 3 years, we didn't tell them because we did not want to be derailed. We did not want to have those voices around us. We kept it to ourselves. That working capital unlocked Roslyn Heights, a project of 400 million. 39 houses. Those are the houses that we partnered with our first partner, Munyo Wayaki. Those are the houses that the smallest is 45. So the biggest is how much? That's the smallest, the 45 one. Okay? They're not all mine, but we sold them and we started the project.
There are a number of fake modeling agencies right here in Nairobi. A legitimate modeling agency should have knowledge of the marketplace and honestly evaluate models for their market. It will have contacts with photographers, with graphic designers and printers to prepare a model's marketing materials. So for those of you who are aspiring to be models, be very cautious. Mid-morning at standardmedia.co.ke is our address. You can also get in touch with us through our Facebook page, KTN Mid Morning. We do look forward to your feedback. It's goodbye for now.